Well, it doesn't seem like 5 minutes since we were looking forward to Christmas, and here we are already, 2/3 of the way through January. Where does time go? And we're 3 weeks also as well into life outside the EU. We're deep into another lockdown, although one with possibly a better ending in sight with the impressive rollout of the vaccine programme, and long may that continue and develop and grow in momentum. But we've also got a range of challenging issues for businesses as well, some of which we'll get on to with our guests to today's event. But first of all, I'd like to introduce our Head of Research, Subra, to have a little chat about some of the things currently going on in the business community, in the business world, and also news of a new survey that we've launched this week for the next 2 weeks, which is very important. So, morning, Subra.
Morning, Chris. Good morning, everyone.
Just explain, because obviously one of the key things we do a lot of at the Chamber, and one of the things really that has sustained us through the last 12 months with everything going on is the use of research and data and actually what businesses are telling us, and we do so much with it. We've launched a new survey this week in conjunction with British Chambers of Commerce. Do you just want to explain a little bit more about that and what the purpose of it is?
Sure. Once again, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. So as some of you would know, since the end of March in 2020, when the pandemic really struck, we have been doing regular surveys of businesses, and that was done primarily with the intention of understanding what's actually happening in the local economy. What are the challenges that businesses are facing? And we continue to survey you all through 2020, which has actually helped us build a lot of intelligence and also lobby on your behalf with civil servants, local and central government. What we have done more recently, i.e. This week, is we have actually teamed up with the British Chambers of Commerce to do a wider national survey. So we get the results at the national level, but we can also get that local picture. We're going to focus on two things. One is, of course, COVID and its impact, the third national lockdown that we find ourselves under with no definitive end date. It is all subject to the success of the vaccination program. And number two is Brexit, because we clearly have had a deal. It was presented as the solution to all problems, the silver bullet, but clearly it is not. And the problems are creeping up. And while attention in the media has been on ham sandwiches being confiscated on the other side of the channel, clearly there are significant business issues which are not forming part of the media coverage on Brexit. And so that's what we want to do. We want to understand what the business challenges are, and then lobby government on your behalf.
Yeah, and we've both been in conversations, haven't we, with members of looking at things that are affecting the business community at the present moment in time. One of the hardest things to say is how much of it is being caused by Brexit and how much of it is the impact of COVID-19. And by doing these sort of surveys, we can begin to sort of isolate things, if that's the right term to use, probably not at the present, but we can begin to point out and identify what the origin of some of those problems are. I mean, there's also the bit around sectors, isn't it? Obviously, if it's hospitality, it's more than likely going to be COVID related. But it's so important we can say with more certainty what the origin of some of these problems actually are.
Absolutely. The worst affected sectors from COVID have indeed been hospitality, retail, etc. We know that to an extent. But what has happened in the last few weeks is we have had businesses in professional services, we have had businesses in manufacturing, some in construction, also saying that it's the challenges of COVID are creeping up on them. And many of these businesses have not closed. They have not paused production, especially the manufacturing ones. They have carried on throughout the pandemic. They may have put some staff on furlough, but beyond that, they haven't actually had any government support. But what they have now found is, 8 or 9 months of constant operation, actually churning out the goods and services that they do, but demand for it has actually crashed. Their customers are not buying. And so they are also looking for support. And then if it's a manufacturing business that is also exporting, then you have the additional challenge, the compliance challenge, the bureaucratic challenge of having to fill in new forms, go through hundreds of additional requirements, etc. And so we want to understand the challenges that go beyond the worst affected sectors of COVID. And that's an extremely important thing because we understand that there have been problems in those sectors. but it's not isolated. Now it is becoming much more widespread, and so we need your views to understand what the challenges for the other sectors are.
Absolutely, it's so important. One final thing, of course, we've got the budget, I think, is on the 3rd of March. And there's been that many announcements and statements and things done by the Chancellor over the last few months, obviously announcing extensions to furlough schemes, new grants, old grants, whatever the support mechanism is out there. Well, 3rd of March is quite important because that is the budget, isn't it? It's easy to get lost in all these different things and autumn statements and this, that and the other. But that's the budget on the 3rd of March. And that, I think, is going to be very, very important because we are facing some real big issues coming up, not just around furlough, potential rise of unemployment, but we've also got a lot of businesses here that still haven't had any access to funding, and B, we've had businesses that are beginning to build up significant amounts of debt, aren't we? So that 3rd of March budget is really important, isn't it? And we will be getting out to members, won't we, to ask for what they want to start to see announced by the Chancellor on the 3rd of March.
Indeed, it is a very important fiscal exercise this year because it also comes against the background of approximately 300 billion that has been already spent on support for COVID. The media attention in the last few days has been focused on the £20 within universal credit. Again, this morning there was coverage of corporate taxation. So the key issue that the Chancellor missed in November when he made his spending review statement is, of course, there must be now some indication of how these additional money is going to be recouped, whether that is going to be done through taxation or cut in public spending and so on. So clearly, it is one to watch out. But at the same time, there is something else that is extremely important for us in the North, which is the promise that this government made about levelling up. And so we want to see the commitments in terms of financial inputs into what those levelling up projects are. What are those big ticket projects, and of course small improvements that will make a significant difference to the business environment, the infrastructure, and the ability to do business and live in these parts of the country.
Thanks very much, Subra. And if you're on the call or watching it later, please look out for those asks for information and evidence, both on what you're currently experiencing, but also what you'd like to see happen in the future. It's become a core part and will be an increasingly important part of the work that we're doing as the country's largest chamber going forward, certainly this year and probably into next as well, such as the scale of the issues I think that we're facing at present. Subra, thank you very much for your time this morning. Informative as ever, and we'll come back to Brexit throughout the rest of the event. What I'd like to do now, though, is introduce my colleague, Membership Services Manager Annie Platts, to introduce the next section on today's event. Annie.
Thanks, Chris. Morning, everyone. It's nice to be back on Chamber Live. My name's Annie Platts. I'm the Membership and Services Manager for the Chamber, and my role is to support the members by ensuring we deliver services that suit every requirement, no matter the size or industry of business. We work with partners to deliver these services, and I'm happy to say we've got two of the experts with us today. So VAT IT, they're a global cross-border tax specialist, and we have Mikhail with us today. And we also have Freeds, who are a national innovative law firm supporting a broad range of services. And Miles is here today to tell us more. So I'm going to pass over to Chris, who's going to ask the experts a few questions around the support and solutions they can provide for our members.
Okay, thanks for that, Annie. And again, just before we start, it's so important that we work with some fantastic partner businesses in the Chamber. And again, you've got access to these as part of your membership. So hopefully today you may find out a little bit more about what they do. If there's some way that they can help you, then please get in touch. That's so important. Mikhail, we're going to come to you first from VAT IT. And if you just want to introduce yourself and a little bit about what you do, and then we'll get into a couple of questions focusing on VAT issues, which is
Sure.
increasingly important as we go into a post-Brexit world. So, Mikhail, if you just want to introduce yourself first of all.
So hi everyone. So I'm Mikhail. Essentially, I'm the product development manager at VAT IT UK. Our bread and butter has historically been cross-border VAT reclaim. However, coming up with Brexit, we're expanding into the VAT, the VAT compliance element as well, and the overall trade compliance, and making sure goods get from A to B, and that you do it in a VAT compliant manner, and of course are able to recover your VAT at the end of the day. So I've spent the last few months focusing on Brexit, all the challenges. Obviously there are challenges coming up every single day, and obviously it's very difficult to interpret the law, etc. So that's where I step in, and I'm here to help. And thank you to the Chamber for organising this.
No, that's okay, Michal. It's good to see you and hear from you, and obviously such a busy time as well. What is the impact now on VAT that the UK has left the EU, the single market, the customs union? Because you mentioned it there about reclaiming it back and one thing and another. And this seems to be one area that really is causing quite a few issues at present. So in a sort of simplistic way,
yes.
What is the actual impact now?
Yes, so essentially when the UK was part of the EU, we could take advantage of, the inter-EU VAT reclaim mechanisms, very simplistic portal to reclaim VAT. We didn't need to register in majority of countries, and it was very, very simple. Now, because we're seen as a third-party country and not part of the EU, essentially we are claiming import VAT back as a foreigner, and there are much more stricter requirements in terms of where we need to actually register. Do we need to register? Are we meeting thresholds? B2C thresholds, for instance, have been taken to 0. So as soon as you're selling B2C direct into a country, you essentially have to register, whereas before this was not the case. So very complex case-by-case basis, but very complex VAT laws that need to be looked into now.
So when you're saying case-by-case, it's literally, even if it's a business, it's not just business by business, it's actually case-by-case for each particular piece of work that you're doing or goods that you're supplying or whatever it is.
Yes, in many instances, yes, because obviously you can be shipping goods or selling goods to one EU country or multiple, and 3 weeks later you get a sale from another EU country, and the additional laws that need to be looked into. Do you need a VAT register in those countries? Can you reclaim the VAT?
Yeah, so you actually do need to register in each country that you're trading with individually as well.
So again, very complicated, but
yeah.
In theory, you would, if you look at each EU member state as a standalone, you would, in many instances, be required to register. But of course, because the EU, there are ways for you to become, have a VAT presence yourself in the EU member state, in one EU member state, and use that to your advantage of finding ways to, I don't want to use the word avoid, but finding ways to be compliant, but not having to register in every single country. Yeah. Of course, with that, there's reporting obligations, filing obligations, disclosure, etc.
So I guess really it's a case of if in doubt, assume everything has changed and you've got to start from scratch if you're not already in the system or whatever, and ask, I suppose, really, because it sounds as though in some respects, and not aimed at you, Michal, obviously you're only dealing with what you've been dealt with, but it sounds like some of these rules are still being, I wouldn't say made up, but it sounds like there's still a lot of confusion on the part of the rule makers with some of this.
Yes, so definitely not made up, but the interpretations do vary across, it's all about interpretations, interpreting the law. And about, at the moment, we've seen various clients, some clients, their goods are getting stuck if they don't have certain VAT numbers, other clients, the goods are going through. So I think also from a customs perspective, they're still working out exactly what's going to happen and how they're going to control the masses. And secondly, because we've become a third-party country, each country still needs to decide if they're actually going to allow reciprocity with the UK, which we're still waiting for. So
so there's still some ways that this may change even further from what we're dealing with now. Really, and again, is it just import VAT that businesses have got to worry about, or are there other concerns relating to VAT beyond just making sure that you're registered in countries and with the EU?
Yes, sure. So other issues come up with deciding between yourself and your buyer who's actually going to be responsible as acting as the importer into the countries. So essentially that brings about complexities of, if you force your buyer to act then as the importer and have to deal with all that admin, etc., then, they could just look at purchasing locally instead of having to act as the importer. So there are all those commercial considerations which do bring about additional administrative burden on sellers or on buyers, which could define, if your business actually is able to continue trading.
Yeah, okay. I've just noticed a question, I think, relating to a little bit of that's come from Sharon in the chat there, and it's about the proposed changes concerning import VAT in the EU on the 1st of July, with the customs declarant, for example, DHL, handles the VAT and duty payment. So, what's the situation as regards that now?
Yes. So from the 1st of July, the EU is bringing in various different models. One of them is called the OSS, the one-stop shop, which is allowing for easier VAT compliance and not having to register in every single country. And in terms of the DHLs having to handle the VAT, that is something where, currently, if your infrastructure is set up correctly, DHL can at the moment, handle that import VAT payment for you. Of course, documents will need to be consigned correctly, etc., to make sure that you are able to reclaim that VAT, which obviously can go up to 27%.
Okay, right. Hopefully that's answered that. And obviously, I was aware that there were changes coming up on the 1st of July, but obviously that may change everything again, basically. And we seem to be in a state of flux and change at the present moment in time. Just one question broader, and not specifically around VAT, but are you seeing, I mean, obviously you mentioned over the last couple of months and however long last year you spent preparing for this, do you still feel that a lot of businesses that you speak to have been, shall we say, caught out by what is actually required? And I know some of that is because, well, things were already decided at the last minute.
Yes.
But we knew things were going to change, didn't we? Do you think that many businesses have, like I said, been caught out a little bit by some of the complexities of this?
Yes, so 100%. I'd say majority of businesses we've spoken to have been caught out. When the trade deal was announced, everyone assumed that the trade deal related to both, allowed for a trade deal from a VAT perspective and a duties perspective.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that they never had to worry about the VAT implications. But unfortunately, that's not actually the case, and VAT has to be looked at, in isolation per the EU VAT legislation. So in that instance, majority of companies have been caught out. Like I said, companies didn't even realize they needed an EU EORI number, so their goods have been stuck at customs. We've gotten desperate phone calls with, we can't even get the contract out fast enough for them to sign so that we can actually start, getting these additional registrations and EORI numbers for them. So it is it's quite horrible to see, just how caught out companies are. Yeah.
And again, I suppose the key thing with this is not to add more gloom and doom into things, but to actually say that things will get better. We're in a state, aren't we, of massive change. But things will get better eventually once things get agreed, used to, and one thing and another. So it is tough. But again, just to say, if people have got any problems, any questions, any queries or whatever, please ask. Don't just assume it. Don't just assume it's always like it has been. People are having to do different things now, so please ask for that information. So I think that's one thing there. Michael, thank you very much. We may come back to you if there's any more questions on the thing, but I really do appreciate again your time at present. Hopefully it's something of a bit of a break for you, getting away from answering VAT queries. So I'll ask you a lot of questions about VAT instead. So anyway, there we go. So our next guest.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. Our next guest is Miles Hacking from Freeths. Miles, good morning. And again, if you just want to do a little introduction about yourself and your role at Freeths.
Yeah, so my name is Miles Hacking. Good morning, everybody. I am a solicitor at Freeths, based in the Manchester office. I specialise in insolvency and business restructuring.
Okay, and what support can Freeths offer members? What are the type of things they've been working on with our members?
So what Freeths are offering at the moment for members is access to a free half-an-hour telephone consultation. It's going to be with an experienced solicitor who's specifically specialises in business restructuring. And what this is going to give members is the opportunity to have a confidential, impartial, independent discussion about financial and other legal sort of issues that their business might be facing.
Okay. And is some of that related to what's been happening with COVID? Are you seeing an increase in calls, or?
Yeah, so I think that it's a fact, isn't it, that there is a difficult times for businesses across the board. Whether their business is actually being buoyed by COVID, there are some sectors of growth, but a lot of sectors are negatively impacted. Finding increased issues with areas where we've been helping with, for example, easing of pressure by either HMRC, landlords, major creditors, supply creditors, whether there's issues in the supply chain or the customer chain, all the way through to the board or management themselves are having disputes that businesses need assistance with and would like to discuss.
And again, some of that it's not new, isn't it? Not, but maybe what's happened is we've seen such a crush and a crunch of things coming together. It's probably, magnified the issues, hasn't it, and multiplied them and made them slightly worse.
I think sometimes, yeah, it's not all doom and gloom, but yeah, unfortunately, it is, like I said at the top, it's a difficult time. And what Freeter are wanting to try and do and help members with is, in the first instance, just provide a sounding board, a place where members can turn to discuss or get a steer as to where to go. Essentially, a second opinion from a professional. To see if either they're on the right lines or where can they go to be put on the right lines.
Yeah, and that's so important, isn't it? That ability to ask the question is a bit like Michal there. If you've got an issue, don't try and work it out yourself. We've got experts like yourself with these things, and it's just so important sometimes just to have that conversation that may not lead anywhere, but at least it's settled minds, and you've got some idea about what you may need to do.
Yeah, 100%. Because if you're not sure quite well, do I need to speak to this? Well, there's this free service here, so why not use it? Why not pick up the phone? Why not email through? I think that Chambers have sent through a link that people can use to request a callback when it's convenient to members, time and date, or they can simply email through.
Yeah, that's absolutely super. And have you got any sort of real life examples? I mean, obviously there's an element of confidentiality, but just some examples of things that you've been involved with and helped previously. Yeah,
it's quite a broad spectrum of issues that we've helped with, from very, very minor to major overhaul restructuring. I think a good example recently that I was able to help with, where we can sort of have a no names discussion, is essentially a business called up and said, the company account's been frozen. I need to pay employees, I need to pay key staff, what's going on? And very quickly we were able to establish that actually it was because a winding up petition had been presented against the company, and therefore the bank had frozen the account. So we had to move at speed because employees needed paying, and this was on the Tuesday, I think, and the employees needed paying by the Friday. So we were able to get into court, we were able to get an order releasing some funds from the bank account to pay key suppliers and also the employees. And then we were also able to negotiate with that particular petitioning creditor to get it withdrawn. And yeah, it was a good news story, actually. It worked out quite well in the end. Yeah, so a certain element of job satisfaction when it came to that one, because we were able to get it across the line quickly.
Yeah, no, it's good. And again, things like that, the good news bit sometimes is in there, isn't it? It's about helping people out, I think. And
at the moment, I think with
gets lost.
Yeah, the good news stories for us are especially when we're able to rescue businesses. I can often have difficult conversations with people, but it's the right advice, and it's what needs to happen. But yeah, when we're able to save businesses and save jobs and save livelihoods, it certainly makes it all worthwhile.
Okay, that's cool. And can you see things being as busy over the next 12 months, or increasingly busy? Or
so I think that a lot of businesses are hanging on. I think it's fair to say we had the corporate governance bill, which actually stayed off in the main, winding up petitions unless it wasn't COVID-19 related. There has been some funding dripping through to businesses, not enough as businesses like to see. But I think there's this great national push behind the vaccine and just wanting to get through this. Nobody, well, I especially don't want to still be here in my daughter's bedroom going and working for the next months and months and months. I want to get back from colleagues. I want to get back seeing people and getting out there. So yeah, I think there just needs to be optimism and hope for the future. But like you say, what's nice about Chambers is that they do have these facilities that members can fall back on if things aren't quite going the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. Miles, thank you very much. I wasn't going to mention the bedroom at the background, but it is quite unique. I was on a call last week with somebody from a government department that had canaries in the background, which was probably the most exotic I've done so far in the current lockdown. But anyway,
it certainly makes my telephone hearing, my video hearings with the court a bit more interesting.
That's super. Thanks very much, Miles, for that.
Time. Take care.
And thank you for Michael as well from VAT IT. Again, just two great partners that we work with across a wide range of issues. But again, the key thing I think we've mentioned there is if you're facing problems, and a lot of people are at the present moment of time, don't just sit in silence, don't just stew on things. Ask, come to the chamber. We can put you in touch with these people, and hopefully we can get some help sorted out for you. No matter what the query is, no matter what it is, hopefully we can get somebody to answer that for you and help you out. So Miles, Michael, thank you very much for your time today. Just going to round up in the next couple of minutes just to say a couple of things that we are doing. Obviously, just going back to Brexit, Susanna Cordova, who's our head of international trade, and the team at the Chamber and also a lot of the membership team as well, are virtually going 24/7 at the present moment in time, answering members' queries around all things to do with Brexit. And again, it matches a little bit of what we've heard already today. Just basic queries right through to some rather complex things. A lot of information on the Chamber website, gmchamber.co.uk. We also have a Brexit hub with a lot of information on there as well. And again, that's being updated as things come out from government. And as we've heard, particularly with things like VAT, as new rules and things are put in place and agreed and one thing and another. It will not always be like this. It will get sorted out and it will settle down at some stage. We just don't know when that is. So we'll keep updating people as and when. If you want to query anything, the email to get in touch with us at is benefits@gmchamber.co.uk. So that's the email to access anything, not just about Brexit, but about any of the services that you've got access to by being a member of the Chamber. A couple of things just to flag up. If you got the brief last week and yesterday, you'll notice that we are highlighting our Building of the Year 2020 finalists. Every year, the property and construction sector in membership highlights a group of buildings that have been finished off in the year before to go forward to our Building of the Year award. We also had to postpone it last year. It's due in October. We're going to be doing it this year instead, but look out for some of those finalists being showcased. Next Tuesday is our fortnightly networking event, so look out for details how to register for that. Also look out for more webinars and training sessions on new rules around Brexit. A lot happening at present on that. And just one final thing as well, we've been doing a lot of work on the Chamber around the issue of digital poverty. And again, as we've gone into lockdown, we saw a huge focus on the ability for young people to learn from home. We do a lot about working from home, a lot about learning from home. With young people, the schools have closed unless it's for key workers. They're having to learn from home. We're working with the Greater Manchester Tech Fund business in the community in partnership to promote a service where businesses can donate their unused digital devices, and then we can get those out to schools, to charities, to other people throughout Greater Manchester that may be in need of those devices. So have a look at that. It was mentioned yesterday on the brief, and if you've got any digital devices, you can register on the website there and we can arrange it. Everything's taken care of. Somebody will come and pick it up, wipe the devices clean, so you don't need to worry about anything on the hard drive or anything like that. It's all digitally done, and then obviously we can get those to the people that need them most at present. So that just about wraps it up for today. Thank you very much to Miles and Michael from Feet and VAT IT. Thank you to Subra as well for giving us his views and a little bit of an insight into what's going on. Remember to look out for that survey and please take part. It's only a couple of minutes out of the day, but please take part. It's so important. We've got our finger on the pulse of what's going on in the business community. So all that remains for me to say is stay safe, stay dry, I think, probably more appropriately with the weather at the present moment in time. Thank you very much.